Hi, my name is Abigail Cowan.
And I'm Ron Walter. Our study is, just for a background, we spent some time at Pravara Institute, which is in rural India. And we spent some time shadowing different public health programs that they have going on there. And we also did some research. In this case, it was study of incidence and socio-biological factors associated with low birth weight infants. We're at Pravara Rural Hospital, Ahmednagar district of Maharashtra, India. And I thought it was just going to be me presenting today, but Abby actually got the opportunity to come with. So we'll start off with some background.
Okay, a little bit of information about low birth weight. The World Health Organization does classify low birth weight to be less than 2,500 grams. And an infant's low birth weight has a lot of problems, and it results in preterm birth and restricted intraterm growth. And just so many consequences: neonatal mortality, morbidity, impaired cognitive development, and chronic disease. And globally, there's about 16% of infants that are born with low birth weight every year. And in India, that's actually significantly higher. It's 38%. And they hold the largest contribution to this in the world. And some risk factors. For maternal risk factors, there's shorter stature, low hemoglobin levels and anemia, poor nutrition, and deprived socioeconomic statuses. And so it's also more common for female infants to have low birth weight. And the firstborn infants are usually lighter than subsequent infants, mostly because the woman doesn't quite, this is the woman's first child, and she doesn't quite know like the maternal instincts that she's supposed to have yet. And then the history of low birth weight at Pravara specifically is, so this is in Loni, India, and in 2006, the low birth weight level was 42% of infants. And then they initiated a ton of different programs and things. They worked a lot with SIDA, which is a Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. And then 10 years later, by 2016, they had reduced their rate by roughly 8% to 34.6% of infants were born at low birth weight, which is still a very high percentage, but you can see within even 10 years that it's decreasing significantly. And so our objective was to work more to see the socio-biological risk factors that affected the low birth weight, and to recommend ways for Pravara to target these issues and see if there's any other ways that they can implement to reduce the incidence. And so our materials and methods, this study was a hospital-based analytical cross-section study. And again, we did it in the Pravara Rural Hospital in Loni. And we were only in Loni for 3 weeks, so our study was only able to be 6 days. And it was from January 9th to January 16th. And the population were women who delivered, like every woman that delivered in Pravara within those 6 days, we interviewed. And so yeah, so it was 102 women, and we looked through their medical records, we interviewed them with an interpreter, and doing that we used a pre-designed questionnaire that we created at the beginning of our trip. For data analysis, we used chi-square tests and t-tests, and our power analysis was performed using a G-power. And so after the 6 days, our results were 38.7% of infants were born below the low birth weight level of 2,500. And with that, we also were able to take all of our different data, and here's some of it. The red dots are the infants that are born above the low birth weight, so these are normal birth weight babies, and the blue dots are low birth weight. And so this is the gestational weeks. The most common thing is that the less weeks that the baby has to get to full term, the more likely that it is to be at low birth weight. And then this was the body mass index, maternal hemoglobin, per capita income. And then, as you can see, there's not quite very many. We didn't find a lot of significance, but we're thinking that's because our trial was only 6 days and it was only 100 women.
Parity starts off at the beginning of categorical variables that we analyzed, and parity is defined as the number of times a woman has given birth to a fetus of a gestational age of 20 weeks or more, regardless of whether that infant was born as a stillbirth or born alive. So from the bar graph, you can see that a woman that is nulliparous or has never given birth before is much more likely to give birth to a low birth weight infant. And the p-value that we got for this is less than 0.10, which indicates significance. For sex of infant, we got a p-value back that was greater than 0.10. And it does appear that there are some differences between the male and female incidences, but the bar graph actually skews that a little bit, and the difference is less than 1%, so I just wanted to point that out. For caloric intake, both variables that we measured returned p-values that were greater than 0.10, which once again indicates that they were not significant. However, there was a trend that the more meals the mother consumed per day and the more food that she ate during the meal, the less likely she was to give birth to a low birth weight infant. We measured 3 different supplements that the women were taking, and it was just a simple yes or no question: were you taking this while you were pregnant? We measured calcium, folic acid, and iron. And the biggest effect size that we saw was from the calcium supplementation, where the difference between the two groups, normal birth weight and low birth weight, was greater than 10%. However, for all 3 of them, we did not achieve significance, as the p-value was greater than 0.10. For education, we once again got a p-value that was greater than 0.10, so no significance, but the biggest effect size was seen in the higher secondary education level. So at a significance level of alpha equals 0.10, we only found 2 variables that achieved significance, and they were gestational age and parity. However, the folic acid in supplementation and the sex of infant did not follow trends that were established by literature. There were very small differences between the populations, though, so it might just be more accurate to claim that there were in fact no differences between them. And all other factors that we were measuring did follow literature trends. To go more into depth about the 2 variables that achieve significance, we have gestational age. So it's been well noted by the literature and in medical practice that a preterm birth is directly influences the weight of the infant. Some maternal risk factors that are associated with preterm birth include lack of adequate nutrition, low BMI, and anemia. So Pravara should continue to address these factors to reduce their incidence of preterm birth, and therefore that will reduce their incidence of low birth weight. For parity, it's kind of an interesting variable to target because you can't really prevent it. You can't really prevent a mother from being pregnant for the first time. So Pravara can pay more attention to the nulliparous mothers. So Hinkle et al. Even suggests having maternal weight gain recommendations that are based on parity, while standard practice just has weight gain recommendations that are based upon the weight of the mother. Hinkle et al. Also suggests that the physiological conditions of the mother change with parity, and that these changes in the later parities can offer a protective factor against low birth weight. Furthermore, it just might also be possible that nulliparous mothers may also just lack a knowledge of the standard medical procedures of pregnancy, and this in turn could lead to a low birth weight. There were some limitations to this study, and the first one that we really encountered were statistical issues, specifically related to our small sample size. And this led to our statistical test having a low power. A power means the percentage that you will detect a difference in 2 populations, given that there actually is a difference between them. So, for example, for the calcium supplementation, our power is 0.47. This means that only 47% of the time would we calculate a statistically significant difference, given that there was one. So standard practice for this type of research dictates that the power is between 0.8 and 0.95. The sample size needed to achieve that power would have to be 307, which is roughly 3 times the sample that we did have. So we increased our alpha level by 0.05, and we were okay with this because it actually increased our power by 0.17, and an alpha level of 0.10 is still within standard practice. More limitations include that this was an observational study, so we can't officially determine causation from it. It does offer predictive power, though, specifically in the case of parity. Furthermore, the results may not be able to be generalized to the world because we were looking at a specific area in India. And lastly, there could have been communication errors because we were using a translator. And details from the interviews simply may have been lost in translation. In conclusion, Pravara has made good progress at reducing its incidence of low birth weight. Still has a ways to go, though. The study has found 2 factors that Pravara can target to reduce its incidence of low birth weight, and they were preterm birth and nulliparity. And that's all I have.